What's up guys? Matt, back working on the Red Dodge Rock Crawler.
Alright guys, so the humidity in the weather in Georgia is pretty bad and it was really messing with the focus on my camera. It'll get better throughout the video, but there is definitely some rough moments with the camera not focusing, and that's due to the weather, and I'm sorry.
I have kind of a master idea where I want this to go, and not quite a good direction on how I want to get there, but I do have a direction. So bottom line up front, we're turning this exo cage into a buggy, and we're gonna have a good time doing it, and we're gonna have to remove a lot of this old roll cage and also cut the cab. I think that about sums it up. Let's get to it. Here's a side note, this Sawzall is my friend for this whole operation. I'm going to try and Sawzall my way through the entire cage and cab. As you can see, I have a little bit of a head start. I still have to reuse this B-pillar. So I'm gonna go ahead and take everything off the side of this B-pillar, get it repositioned, start cutting the cab. There's a lot to do. Alright guys, it is literally so humid in Georgia that my lens is fogging up immediately as soon as I do anything. That's why some of these shots were fogged, and that's why I'm going to try and rush through this. So here is where we're at after the cab chop and then moving the original B-pillar forward to about halfway up the cab. I also went ahead and welded in a new side structure for that door right there, just a nice horizontal piece. I still have to do gussets everywhere. I'm saving the gussets for last, but as you can see, a lot of the old cage pieces are removed, the B-pillars move forward, and we have a good working area for what we're going to do next. So we have this front roll cage structure all the way in place, besides gussets as far as I'm going to go for it, and we have this back of the cab structure back here, and that's what we have to work with. That's what we're going to design. The issue is the B-pillar goes right above the seat, so I can't shoot a straight X straight down into, you know, where the seating area is. So with that being said, we're gonna have to do some fancy triangulation to get the structure to the B-pillar, and that's gonna come from our rear back bars. Okay, here's our setup. We got the trusty Harbor Freight pipe bender that we're bending this 2-inch Schedule 80 tested tubing with. It is not skinny, it is very thick. Oh, and look at that, there goes the humidity again. 1 second. Anyways, as I was saying, this is Schedule 80 2-inch OD tubing. This is what we're using for the rear of the roll cage, since my local steel yard didn't have any DOM and they didn't have 1.75" anything. So Schedule 80 2-inch is what we're using. All right, as you can see, that 2-inch Schedule 80 tubing goes up. There's the bend from the Harbor Freight pipe bender, and then it goes into the top of the cage. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Once it's done on the other side, we're going to figure out a way to triangulate those upper little roof mounts. Alright guys, sweating bullets, very hot out, but at least the humidity kind of died down some. That's a plus. Let me show you the triangulation I came up with. So there we are. We're getting further. We are getting further, that is for sure. As you can see, those 2-inch Schedule 80 tubing are noticeably thicker than the 175 DOM front of the roll cage, but it's okay. I think I'm going to put a bikini top on the top. I'm going to make a custom little bikini top for it so you kind of be able to hide some of that difference in size. No big deal either way. In terms of the triangulation, all I did was run one of the side apexes down to the side of the rock sliders. Instead of angling my frame bent pieces up into the middle of the roof, I went ahead and made them straight. And I only made them straight because I don't think that's going to add any structure in terms of triangulation. I think that looks 10 times better having them straight, and it will also allow me the ability to put a little ladder bar up there with some of that leftover Schedule 80, which I think will look really cool, having like 3 rungs up there. As you can see, we still got to add quite a few side pieces in, so I'm going to go ahead and sweat away and add in all these side pieces, talk about where I'm going to put some gussets, and yeah, there's not much more to it. It is truthfully as easy as cutting and notching by hand and reusing the old roll cage DOM and cutting that off and cleaning that up for new usage. There's not a lot to it, so I don't think I'm going to include a time lapse or anything. So let's just go ahead and cut to adding all the side pieces, and then we can talk about gussets. So yeah, tomorrow we're going to come back at this and finish up that ladder rack, add all the gussets, and just do some finishing touches. So this is happening. Happened as I was welding, which is super great for me. So nice little Georgia monsoon. As you can see in the back over there, we kind of have most of the cage done. As you can see over there, we got 2 ladder bars, and then we have that little triangle coming from the apex of the roof rack up there. You can see how it all ties together. So that's how that's gonna work. And before you say it, I know that that triangle kind of deads into those 2 vertical pillars, but I don't think it's gonna really matter in terms of rollover safety. There's already other cross bracing there anyways, so I don't think that's going to have much of an impact. I also think that looks the best with those vertical pillars going to the back of the truck. I think that adds a lot of depth and it ties everything together. So yeah, after this rain gets done, we're going to come back. We're going to add gussets everywhere that needs to be gusset, especially those 2 back folded over Schedule 80 pipe. With the pipe bender, we're going to add some big gussets there. But we're also going to add some gussets to the roof and whatnot. So as soon as this rain gets up, we're going to come back, add those gussets, and then we just got to install the 2 soft tops that we got. And yeah, that'll be it for this one. So I'm going to go inside. This rain is not really conducive to working in it.
Alright guys, to make these gussets, I just did a real quick cardboard cutout, and then I plasma cut a piece of 3/8 inch plate I had laying around. Initially I was doing this with my 4.5 inch angle grinder, but that just wasn't going to cut it, so I brought out the plasma cutter, and this took me probably 1/10 of the time using the cutter than it would have with the grinder.
Alright, so here's what I was doing on the top of the roll cage. I was putting on a Jeep Gladiator sunshade. It's the biggest one I could find, and it fits kind of well. There's definitely a few inches on each side of it, but hopefully that provides enough shade to all 3 of the seats, and we're good to go. But as you can see, that gusset process took me about 8 hours with the plasma cutter, I'll have you know. So that was a long time. Lots of pieces of 3/8 inch plate to cut out and then weld onto these apexes, but we got every single corner and every single joint gusseted with 3/8 inch plate, and that's how it looks. Some of the welds aren't too pretty. I blame that on, I had to get a new welder. My Vulcan 215, I finally blew up the board on that after 3 years of outside use. The board must have got a little wet, and I blew it up. So I picked up a titanium 170. That's a good little hobbyist welder. It's gonna be good for right now. So the last thing I'm gonna talk about is the last step in this video. As you can see, where I chopped the cab, just like those half doors, there's a bunch of exposed sheet metal. All I'm gonna do is put a cap on all of that sheet metal right there on both sides, and then weld that to the doors to add a little bit of structure to the leftover tub. Just gonna go ahead and use the plasma cutter, cut out some 12 gauge steel that I have laying around, make those tin plates, weld that on, and we'll be done. So I probably won't record that part, so let's just cut to the final montage. All right, guys, we got the chop done. This is the finished product. This is what we're working with. Okay, we're using the 39 as a little flex stand real quick, just to articulate some of the suspension and get a little bit of flex in. Okay, taking you guys around to what we did right now. As you can see, we went ahead and took a Sawzall to the entire back of the cab, as well as redid about 80% of the roll cage, everything from the A-pillar back, basically. Okay, this shot really shows the design of the roll cage and the changes we made. As I said before, I'm not insanely happy with that rear ladder design. There's definitely better ways to do that, and eventually I'm gonna circumvent me not being happy with that by adding some X's going down from the B-pillar, going straight to the frame. I just don't have the material or the design right now to implement that. So that'll happen eventually, but for now, this is the design we're going with. As you can see, that leaf spring front end and 4-link rear end flexes out pretty well, about as well as you would expect from a full-size truck with parts from like 9 different other trucks. But you know, it is what it is. Those Fox 18-inch coilovers are drastically different. As you can see, driver's side is about fully extended and passenger side is about fully collapsed, which means we're about at max flex. The rear driver tire hasn't lifted off the ground yet, but it's very close considering there's 3 PSI in these military beadlocks, and there's no bulge, which means there's almost no weight on that tire. Coming around to the cab, you can see where I added a little shelf to that sheet metal. And contrary to those half doors that are fully welded and then ground down flat to make it look pretty, that new shelf is just tacked in every like 6 to 8 inches. No real design to that. I'm definitely not gonna spend the time to weld all the sheet metal to it and weld it all to make it pretty, so I'm just gonna live with it. But yeah, walking around to the front, let's get another look at it. It's always funny saying the 39 looks small next to something, but the 39 Chevy definitely looks small next to the full-size truck. Here's a good time to talk about a future project. We're gonna go hydro assist, maybe full hydro, but probably hydro assist with this full Heim joint custom steering. I think hydro assist will definitely be the best option, especially once the front has a spool in it. But yeah, those military Humvee beadlocks with under 5 PSI, they actually bulge pretty well. They really don't put a terrible contact patch down. You know, it could be a lot better with a much lighter, more flexible piece of rubber. But, you know, that's not too bad. That's a good amount of bulge, and that's definitely a really nice contact patch. I'm gonna be happy with those considering I paid, I think, $400 for 5 of them. Also, I don't know what kind of luck I have, but this 5.9 Magnum is not leaking at all, and my 12 valve doesn't leak at all. So I don't know if I'm just really lucky with my Dodges, but none of them leak. So yeah, guys, I think that about closes out this video. This is the, I'm gonna call it like a buggy transformation, cab chop. I don't know what I'm gonna label it, but this is definitely the conclusion of the next big step of my 2nd gen rock crawler. There's definitely a lot more on the list to do to it, and it'll definitely be getting done, but it'll probably be in a few weeks once I move up to the Northern Virginia area. Other than that, guys, that's it for this one. I will see you guys next time.